recording.
Awesome. Go for it. Yeah, cool. Welcome, everybody. End of week 3. How's everybody doing? Did you have a good week?
Yeah, it was a good week.
Yeah, awesome.
It was very interesting. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, we'll get into that a little more, I guess, like to hear about sort of the specifics of the work you did. Yeah, really excited about just like everything, all the collaboration I'm seeing between you and or among you, I guess. Correct English. Yeah, I'll be the MC today, so that's all kind of lead you through demos and then just keep the meeting moving and everything. Yeah, is there a pair that wants to kind of start off with your demos?
Yeah, I think I should start. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I'm gonna share my screen now.
Was it you and Sarah this week? Is that right?
Kenny.
Oh, you and Kenny. Okay.
Yes, I am with Kenny. So can you see my screen now? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I like that you have it in a like a mobile phone size. That's great.
Yeah. So our issue this week was about allowing users to share existing shopping lists if they have the valid tokens for these lists. So here in our app, we added a new form to allow users to enter a reward token. So when the user is going to add a fake token, the app should know this is a fake token because there's no shopping lists that have that token in the database. So when I try to submit and log in, it's just the app is going to tell me that shopping list doesn't exist. So now if I try to enter a valid token, which means that a token that's in our database, the app should allow me to access that token now, that shopping list. So, and I can even add to it new item. So it's added here, and it's also shown here in the list, on the list. So what the app also does is store the token, the shared token, to my local store, so I can access to that shopping list whenever I want, as long as that token is in my local store. So it wasn't really a long issue, or it was really similar to what we did for the last week. So I think that's it for the demo. So if no one has any questions, I think Kenny can talk about the code.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it looks like it works great.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So Kenny, I can stop sharing now?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
All right. Welcome everyone. Can we see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So as Hajar explained already, the task for this week has been demoed. So I want to take us through the code. So basically in our code, we created a new component which we named join a shopping list. So within this component, what we did was basically create a new form component, because we noticed that we're using this form in 2 places. Here, when a user wants to join an existing shopping list, and also when the user is imputing the values of the shopping list. So we thought that we should just create a new form component, and so that just to enable the component to be reusable, basically. So here we have a form component here. We are passing the following as props here. So we're passing an onSubmit prop, which calls this function handle submit. What this handle submit does is it basically gets our shopping list here. We are importing get shopping list from shopping list collection, which we have here. So guess what shopping list collection does is that it takes the value of our token, searches our database, and compares the token we have in our database with the token which the user has imputed, and then subsequently it checks and gets the token. Now, if the token exists, it displays a list of the items present in the database, and if it's non-existent, it gives us an error basically that says shopping list does not exist. So here we're passing the following as props. We're passing on submit, which calls the handle submit function, the input field, our submit button when the text submits, and just a class name for styling. Within our input field, we have an object with a placeholder, enter a 3-word token. Now within the form component, we're basically passing it as props and structuring it here within this component. So when we destructure it, we get the following values: the unsubmit value, the class name, the input field, the submit button, and the children. So in this component, we just have a simple form with an input field, the children, which we have passed as props, and our submit button. So within the submit button, we're getting the class name here, which we are picking from here, our submit button, and the text is the submit. So here we're just getting it here. Sorry, here. Yeah, okay. So submit button dot class name to get the class name, and then submit button dot text to get the text in the button, basically. So when the user passes in this value, we store it as our input value. Okay, we set our use state. We store it as the input value here. We pass it in, and then we just create an onChange handler that basically sets the value as whatever the user inputs into the field. So once the user inputs its value, it is passed to the input field. We have an input field component here, basically here. So it's just a basic input field with a label for styling, and the input field here. So like I explained earlier, the shopping list collection now checks, passes, it gets our value, it checks the database, and then it checks the database, and it checks the token which we have passed, and if it exists, it displays the list to the user, and if it doesn't, it basically returns an error that says shopping list does not exist. Yeah, so I think that's basically all. I don't know if I explained properly.
Oh no, I get it. That's really great. And I love actually that the way that you've abstracted some of this stuff out. I think that your form, the form.js you're actually gonna be able to use that. It's either this week or next week. We're gonna be doing an issue on filtering the list down. You could probably reuse that form.js.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, you couldn't use it for the add item form though, the way that it's written, I guess, but at least you'll have two places that you can use it.
Yes.
We are already using it, the add item.
Oh, this is being used for that too?
Side. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're passing in the type of the input as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, nice. All right, great. So that's great. Yeah, that's a really nice abstraction. And then the where you're checking for the existence of the list, I thought that's pretty clever as well. So if the list comes back and the length is 0, then then it's an error, right?
On shared token also, if you it's gonna go to the unshared token in the main interface, I think.
Yes.
Main interface.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So it's gonna pass the token to the function. It was created last week. We didn't really. So it's gonna do, if there's a token, it's gonna set the token with the shared token. If there isn't, it's just gonna generate a new one.
Yeah, that's great. That's really nicely architected. I love it. Any other feedback from anybody else?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done. And great explanations too. I love your demos.
Thank you. So I'm going to stop sharing now.
Okay. And Deborah and Sarah.
So I am going to show you the app in the browser. Okay. So our issue was to alert the user when entering an existing item on the list, and to avoid duplicates. So it was a simple task, I would say. Maybe the code or the regex part that Sarah's gonna explain maybe wasn't that simple. But okay, so I'm just gonna show you. We created some flash messages. So if I enter, so it's successfully added. So let's say that I add Apple again. Then we get an error message. So if I add like a crazy thing with punctuation, it was added. I'm sorry because I didn't write. Okay, sorry. So let's see. So it captures only the apple, the string, and then it's not added. So the only interesting thing here is that it normalizes capitalization and it removes punctuation. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so that's it on my part.
Okay, great. Yeah. I was sitting there trying to think of some edge cases that maybe, I was trying to think of something you hadn't thought of, but you actually did a pretty good job of covering this stuff.
Okay, so for the code, we first have created like this second. Okay, so we have created a helper file to contain the logic of checking for existing name. So first we are taking the document and the name we're looking for of the new item, and we're getting the names of the existing names of the items by so getting the items and mapping through it and returning the name. So now we will have only an array with the names of the existing items. And second, we're mapping through them and filtering both the existing item and the new item name and comparing them together using find. And for the filter, we have created that pattern to remove the punctuations. Then converting them to lowercase and trim all the trailing spaces. So that's it. This function will return true or false if the item exists, if the item already exists.
Mm-hmm.
And in add item, so after getting the document and checking if there's items or not, we were calling the existing name, and if true, it will just display the error message and return. So that's it. And for the flash message, you have created a just simple paragraph, and it takes the message, and the message type is just for silent. So, and the interesting part here is that we find this attribute for accessibility. What it does is that it notifies a screen reader every time the content of this tag changes. So it reads the content every time it changes. So it was very useful.
Yeah, that's great. I noticed that as soon as you put it up on screen. That's a really nice touch. Can you walk us through your regular expression?
Oh, no.
Because that's oof, wow.
It's removing the punctuation. So we tried to find all the punctuations in the whole world.
Yeah, you have like the upside down question mark and stuff. So you're pretty thorough.
And this crazy double dash. I don't know. German uses this. I don't know why.
Is that an M dash?
It's a double dash.
Okay. Oh wow. All right. That's good. So basically, what the regular expression does is it looks for any of the characters inside those square brackets,
Yeah.
and it's
That
looking
is-
for one or more, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, regular expressions are like a whole topic on their own. But then the replace says anything that matches, just replace it with an empty string. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, that's
Okay.
one of the more obtuse regular expressions I've seen.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Maybe maybe with playing with this, you can think in another approach or different one that it's looking for only for anything that it's not a character. So that
Yeah.
will be very more simpler. And also you can also change in line 3 the order, first doing the lowercase thing and then the replace. That is the regular expression a little bit.
Mhm.
What will that do? What will it do?
If you
Logo-
do the lowercase first, you don't have to deal with uppercase, and you can remove uppercase from the regular expression, for example.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yeah.
But if we but this will restrict the app to only the English alphabetics, like from A to Z, or I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right also.
like it wouldn't use accented marks or anything. You're thinking, David, of the like \W or something, like a word character.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not sure actually whether that covers Unicode characters or not.
I don't think so, but Sarah is right. If we want to cover different UTF languages, maybe that is not going to work.
Yeah,
Okay.
regular expressions are fun. No, they're not fun, she said. I'm curious also with this one, how did you break up the work, or did you work together on all the parts, or did one person like do the UI and one person did the like some of the code, or
For the demo?
no for the actual work when you're pairing?
Oh, we work together in sessions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Sometimes someone writes the code and someone is the observer and someone is the coder.
All right.
So
Great.
we did it together. Okay, should I stop sharing?
Unless anybody, Phoebe or Luca, have any feedback or questions or anything.
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to mention again the abstraction of the logic, the regex logic, and then just exporting this function. It's I love it in terms of the cleanliness of the code and also kind of delegation of your work. So that's cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the regex because I when I had the office hour, I just said that I was building the project alongside them, and I had the same trouble with trying to make sure that the regex covered everything. So you're not alone there. It's just a nightmare. But yeah, I did it to lowercase first, so that's something that I what David recommended, so I would follow that as well. But that's my only recommendation. But yeah, still haven't found a very efficient way to do it myself. So if anyone does have a better way, then do let me know.
Please.
Good job. Yeah, you can stop sharing. Thank you. Good job on the demos. Excellent work. And yeah, part of why I asked about how you paired and everything is David's going to do a learning module on pair programming, and this week it was really nice to see on Twitter like some people saying some good things about pair programming and like kind of how powerful it is, and what a kind of a fun way to build things. So David, I'll turn it over to you to kind of tell us more about pair programming.
Okay, let's go into it. Okay, let me share. So, hold on a minute. ¿Qué pasa? Sí. Toma. Okay, so pair programming, it's very, very exciting. Okay, let's go. So pair programming has been around for since it had another name. It has been around since the 70s or something like that, and it was uh, maybe popular or more known when it was introduced into the extreme programming methodology. If you don't know that, I also recommend you to do some research because it's already a very, very cool grade. Sí. Okay, so what's pair programming? You already know, but let's go to the formal definition. So two developers sit together in front of a computer and take turns writing code using only one keyboard. This is something in some companies I work for. There are some managers that were not used to that, and oh, two programmers in only one keyboard. That's not efficient. That's not the way it should be. So, but it's something counterintuitive, as you maybe already experienced in yourselves. So these two developers, there are two roles, right? The driver and the navigator. The driver is the one that controls the keyboard, okay, and is responsible for writing the code. And this is very important. And this person, and it's, I think, for the ones that are not used to, is one of the hardest parts. Is trying to verbalize your thinking process, okay, as much as possible, as you go. This is like the thing we were talking about, the rubber duck, right? And then we have the navigator, that it's the other developer that pays close attention to the code. The driver is writing and offering guidance, suggestions, alternatives, or finding answers together to questions or problems, and also acts as a sounding board for the ideas of the driver, right? Um, this is it takes this takes I had to do pairing with very different kind of people, and when there are the ones that are shy, and you are going to you are going to deal with some interesting situations, right? Because as I said, when you are the driver trying to verbalize, and also when you are the navigator and you think you have the idea, it's not like you tell them the driver what to write. So it's finding a very interesting balance. Yeah, and it takes a lot of practice to do it right. And also you are going to pair with people with very different levels. That it's all it's also something that is going to be very useful for you also to learn from them, and to practice being humble, and you are going to be learning from anyone which from any level. So there are a ton of ways to make remote working possible and more collaborative, and there are tools are coming out very fast, and um, after the pandemic, this has there are more tools are more coming out, but we have to try to leverage the tools that we already have, okay, and we can start doing this with a very simple setup. So as you are already doing, two developers hop on a video screen or shared call. So the driver shares the screen, and while the navigator provides feedback and asks questions. And when you have to switch roles, the driver push the code to the repo, the remote repo, and then the navigator pulls that code locally. And then you switch the roles, driver and navigator swap roles, and then you start over again. So this is one simple setup. There are more complex one where with modern tools, you can be controlling in some way the keyboard and the screen of the other pair, and you can be writing on yours, and the code is going to be appearing on your pair screen. This helps to, for example, here remove one of the steps, but also it's also interesting in this scenario that I just described. If you push the code, is only going to be the code pushed by one of the developers. So for having these commit messages by both of the pairs, it's interesting also to do this for sharing these green dots that appears on GitHub and all things like this, that there are some hiring managers that they look at that, so to check your activity. So it's a good practice where you are hunting jobs to share that green dots of activity in GitHub or GitLab or whatever. But as I say, there are a lot of tools for doing remote pairing actually. But this setup works well. Okay, so some tips or some discussion about what's the mindset and attitude when doing pair programming. So I like this phrase a lot. Pairing is an exercise to share your Lego. It's more efficient, or can be more efficient, to go with your pairing partner's idea than to start arguing on an approach. I think maybe, Andrew, I wanted to ask, because I know that the Lego is like it refers to the Lego pieces, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
so it's kind of a phrase that some managers use a lot, like for like just letting go of like needing to control something, right? So
yeah, that's
you're willing
right.
to, like, you know, like you teach your kids to share and like share their Lego with other kids, and it's kind of the same concept.
It's like, I don't know if you had Lego when you were little, but the thing with sharing your things, it's hard sometimes. So it's an exercise to start being able to do that without letting go of that feeling, because it's going to be useful for both pairs. So some things you have to embrace doubt and possibility. So it happened to me when I started doing pair programming, where the driver, as a driver or as a navigator, you think that you have your approach is better, but you have to let the driver express himself or herself. So and start a conversation. It's not like speaking over or things like that. It's very interesting exercise of empathy also. It's not about teaching or mentorship. Okay, it's something like more like finding or helping each other, or to find solution to a problem. And this is very huge. It's a great opportunity to learn, no matter the level of the person you are pairing with. you can learn, and he can learn or she can learn from you also. So it's something that is sometimes difficult for some young developers I have paired with. It's hard for them to let this go and be. I try to explain them that they have to bring their full self or their true self to the pairing session, and start thinking about levels or whatever, and all the ideas are valid, and we would discuss the ideas in a conversation. It's not like, no, that's a stupid idea, we cannot do this. It's not what it should happen, but maybe you will encounter some pairs that are not that they don't have this mindset, but this is the mindset that you should have when doing pair programming. Yeah, this is very important also. So you should seek as a driver agreement before writing anything. So because if, for example, you don't verbalize and some line of code went through your head and you start writing directly without having verbalized it, the navigator doesn't know anything. So it's interesting or important for these to work better to seek agreement. And for seeking agreement, you need to verbalize. So it's like a symbiotic relationship. And yeah, I advanced this one. Navigators ask, don't tell EU. You think that there is something that can be done differently, or you are sure that there is another approach, you have to try to ask or influence in some polite or not directly asking, you should write this, or sorry, don't telling you should write this. You should phrase yourself with questions and in a way that can influence, or you can direct the conversation or to the way that you want. But you should always ask. Also, maybe an example. What do you think about if we change this with that, or this kind of language, right? So this is it for the theory. So we would like to know about your experience. How has been so far your experience? So we already had some insight from our retrospective. So, but we would like to know, open a discussion, and maybe you have questions about something about the painting or whatever.
Okay, can I start?
Yeah, sure. Go.
I think I like the ask and don't tell rule. It's like, because this is like the hardest part for me in pair programming. It's like always you want to know what the other person to think thinks about the code you are writing, or the code they want to write. So that's a good rule, I think. Because I always try to ask people like when I start working with them, but sometimes I think maybe I'm asking a lot of questions. So I think that's good to like ask a lot of questions so you can understand the other person thoughts better, you know. So that's cool.
That's great.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, one of the reasons that we do this learning module in this week is that you've now had a chance to pair with everybody else in the group, right? So you've seen probably a few different styles and stuff, and maybe some will work better for you than others. Or, I mean, we hadn't really trained you on how to do this, so you were just kind of like figuring it out. But I'm curious to hear more kind of your experiences with it, how it's like, if it's is it something that you did before you came to Collab Lab at all? Had you ever done pair programming?
So for me, I have never done it before. So, but I really love it because for me, like if I'm coding alone, I'm very easy to distract. So, but coding with someone makes me focus and feel accountable for this. So
Mm-hmm.
it was very cool, yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
and
that's
always keeps me motivated to code and do things and always make it better. So it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
that's a very interesting point, Sarah. I never thought about that. This can help people that can be distracted easily. So that's good.
Okay. Yeah, for me, pair programming has been a really exciting experience because I had never done it prior to coming here. I've been learning on my own, and um, personally, I did a lot of pair programming this week with Hajar, and it was a really amazing experience because number one, he made me. We used to try different approaches to solving problems, and then we would then decide on which one we wanted to stick with. So that way we found various solutions to the same problem. And then most times we usually refactored to the one that we finally ended up with. But through pair programming, we would have tried many approaches. So I've learned a lot from it. And also debugging is way easier with pair programming because um, like you have someone else who probably has way more experience or has probably encountered the same problem before, and or you would have spent hours on Stack Overflow trying to figure out. Your partner just says, "Oh, I've done this before, and this is how I did it." So for me, it's the best. It's been the best experience for me so far in Collab Lab, and yeah, I really love it. I even put out a tweet about it last night following a session with Hajar because I learned a lot personally. So
That's
it's
great.
like a new discovery for me. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Kenny 100%. Debugging process while pair programming is such a great experience, and also for me personally, it was it helped with my imposter syndrome because while you are pair programming, you might get stuck on something very simple and you kind of lose your confidence, but then you have someone next to you who can help you to debug and then kind of understand that actually it's maybe more like an imposter syndrome at that moment rather than not being able to think about the solution. So yeah, I agree with that.
Deborah, what about you?
Yes. So for me, yeah, this is completely new. I never done anything like this before. And I am so used to just thinking on like being like internally just so I think the opposite happens to me with Sarah, maybe because I get distracted. I feel paralyzed and I can't think somehow. And it's like can I just maybe think and then we can do it, So I'm learning a lot about maybe just why not just let go of the feeling that I can't deliver now, and maybe we can both, and she's been great in walking me through and showing me tools like regex I had no idea, and I am it's been great, and I'm learning, I'm thinking about how to improve, yeah, and maybe that's my experience, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it takes a lot of energy to pair program, I find, because I'm I'm on the introverted side, and so it's like if people are uncomfortable with it, so it's maybe a little easier, but like I am, you know, just having to verbalize everything, like you're saying, like it's a lot of energy, but it is also like it's like I see programming generally as a creative activity. Like you're making something that wasn't there before, right? So a lot sometimes just having like somebody that's like in that with you, like you come up with solutions that you wouldn't have thought of on your own, right? But there are different styles. So you know, another very valid way to pair program is you come together, you kind of get aligned with you know what we're trying to do. We both understand the problem. You go off and you do some research individually, and you maybe like try a couple of solutions. Then you come back and you say, "Here's what I found," and the other person says, "Oh, here's what I found." And you figure out together what's the thing you want to do. So it's not all, you know, you're not trying to create everything, you know, like live in the moment with the other person. So maybe, Deborah, that might be something for you to experiment with this coming week. Is you know, let's get together and figure out sort of what we're trying to solve and the approach, and then go off and maybe do some of the research and thinking individually, and then come back. Maybe you could do that kind of, yeah. I was trying to think of a name for that pattern, but I don't even know. But you know what I mean?
No, yes. So I was thinking of the driver and the navigator. So it's the, if I have to write, so it's when it's my turn, then maybe I feel self-conscious, and then am I actually doing this right? And then when I'm the navigator, then it's like it works because I'm just watching, and yeah, okay, yes, it makes sense. Of course, let's do it. So it's, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, but it's I have to get better at just thinking that someone is looking at when I'm writing the code, and you know, it doesn't matter. We can figure out together. And Sarah was just really encouraging in that respect. And this week, yeah. So yeah, thank you, Sarah, for being patient. It's like, yes, but it's like, no. Yeah. Anyway.
You're amazing, Gato.
Yeah, there is this kind of pressure when you're the one typing. It's like you just feel like, oh, I can't spell anything. You know, like just, you know, like I'm making all these typos and, you know, or whatever. It's the same as like you're trying to write on a whiteboard in front of people or something. You know, it's like all of a sudden you forget how to do it. You know, so I think we've all had that experience.
Yeah, I have some teammates that they are blazing fast with typing. They use Beam like it's magic. So and they have to. I know it's hard for them because then they have to be the navigator with someone that doesn't type as fast as they type, and they have to exercise patience with you also because you are like clack 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 when they can write, I don't know, 300 words per minute or something like that. So
I worked with somebody who literally, it was about that fast, and it was just like, come on, man, you know. But I think, you know, like you were, David, it was really interesting at the beginning. You were talking about, you know, some managers, they just think it's like it's an inefficient process and things.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can only type half as fast if you only have one person at a keyboard instead of two, right? Like, or you know what I mean? Like if each person doesn't have their own keyboard, you can only type. But like typing it's such a small percentage of what we actually do as programmers. You know, it's figuring out the problem, you know, coming up, like you're creating this thing, like, you know, taking all these things into account, kind of running the code in your head. There's all these things that you do other than the actual typing itself. So, you know, there's one, this guy, Douglas Crockford, who used to be a big name in JavaScript, who said that, you know, you probably, as a programmer, all the typing you do in a year, you could probably do all the typing itself in a week. You know, just the actual sit there, you could type everything that you typed over the course of a year in 1 week. It's all, but you take, you know, the rest of the year to like figure out what you should be typing. You know, that's actually where the magic is. So
yeah,
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
Well, so if you think about like pair programming, like that's the value of it, is it's not, you know, like, you know, who's typing isn't the important thing. It's like that you're figuring out a better solution than you would have individually.
I want to add that this pair programming has other dimensions, like it's great for code quality, for improving code quality. You already seen that 4 eyes are going to watch things or see more than two, only two. And also in some modern organizations, the shared ownership of the code, so that we don't have heroes or silos, people knowing everything. So pair programming helps to spread the knowledge about the system. So there are a lot of and there are a lot more on other dimensions on doing pair programming. And this pair programming is not the only thing. We also do on other organizations do another thing that is called mob programming. It's MOOB, and it's not a pair. It's a group of people doing with there is one driver and quite a few navigators. When you have to work on a hard problem or trying some new technology. So we do that a lot in my company. We gather together to do this, not only in pairs, for all these things of sharing knowledge across the organization and also the code quality. So there is a lot of, you will see through your career that this has a lot of interesting and useful dimensions, not only the one we have just talked here. Okay, so I don't know. Oh, sorry. Here we have a lot of links with information. I think these slides are public. Yeah, I will share that. I did some changes on the slides, but I will share this on the channel.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David. Great job.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
And I think now it's down to Luca is going to walk us through the issues for the coming week.
Yep, sure. Let me share my screen. Okay, so yes, this week we have user stories number 7 and 8. Number 7 is, so as user, I want to see a welcoming prompt to add my first item if my list is empty, to help me get oriented to how the app works. And the acceptance criteria for this issue is that the list view, when there are no items to display, should show a prompt, for example, a button for the user to add their first item. So we have a wireframe here that will show some image in terms of how the app should look. So basically, if we are in the list page and our shopping list is empty, we need to have the text that tells us that the shopping list is empty, and the button should be presented to be able to easily orient and just add a new item to our shopping list. That's number 7. And moving to number 8, as a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased, so the app can learn how often I buy different items. And the acceptance criteria is that user is able to tap a checkbox or similar UI element to mark an item in the list as purchased. Items should be shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made. We assume the user does not need to buy the item again for at least 1 day. And in terms of wireframes, basically a checkbox similar to this that could be like checked after the item is purchased, and that will be basically it. And in terms of issue number 8, the good way to test the functionality would be to play with dates in Firestore. Firestore has its own console where you can select a specific item and kind of change the specific date either purchase date or the time the item was added, or how soon the item needs to be purchased. So as you play with it, you can test the actual functionality of the issue. So unless, yeah, please feel free to ask any questions you have. And otherwise,
I was going to say issue eight is quite a bit more complicated than issue 7. But issue 7, you could actually take it and do a little bit more with it than what the strict acceptance criteria are. I mean, if you have an empty list and you add a button, you're kind of done. But you could think through like what would be a good sort of product experience for that screen. If the list is empty, what would you want to tell the user about, like to kind of set their expectations of how the app works or something. So you could get a little creative with it if you wanted to. And can you go back to the wireframe for issue 8? So this wireframe is actually showing sort of the state of the list after the next a couple weeks from now. So this week you don't need to do the details link and the delete link, and you don't need colors and all those kinds of things. Like really, it's just about adding that checkbox to mark whether it's been purchased or not. So and the filter and all that stuff. That's all for later stories.
So, yeah, unless you have questions, who wants to take?
After 24 hours, we should just uncheck it again? After a day?
So, yep. So for the first 24 hours after you buy it, you should not be able to hit the button again. It should be checked and probably disabled too. Like you don't want to, like there's no, it would make it a lot more complicated to have to, that you would have the ability to sort of unbuy something. Like, so we, I don't know if that's actually, is that in the, it should be marked, it should be shown as checked. It actually should, I should probably change that acceptance criteria to be checked and disabled for 24 hours after you purchase it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after 24 hours, it goes back to normal, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Who wants to take which issue? Oh, what are the pairs this week, Luca?
So it's Sarah and Deborah.
Hassar right? And Hajar this week, and Deborah and Kenny.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Kenny, do you have a preference?
I think I am more interested with 8, but I'm not sure if that's okay. Is that okay with Kenny and Deborah?
Kenny and Deborah, are you okay taking number 7?
Kenny, I think you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. 7 is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so Hajar and Sarah will take issue number 8, and Deborah and Kenny will take 7.
Cool.
That's right. All right. Yeah, I can assign right now.
And this issue number 8 often prompts questions and stuff. So don't be shy about asking in the channel, if things come up that are confusing or it's not clear how it should behave or something.
Awesome. I will stop sharing here then.
And then the only last thing, I guess, David, you're on office hours this coming week, right?
Yeah.
So should we try to schedule that?
It's going to be Wednesday, but not sure yet which hour. I will tell you tomorrow. But it's going to be, well, we can decide Wednesday or Friday. What do you prefer?
Wednesday is fine with me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Wednesday is probably better just because then they have time to take the information and implement things. Yeah.
I agree with that. Okay, so I will post tomorrow the availability.
Cool. All right. Nice job. Great work again, of course, and great demos, and nice job, David, on the learning module. Yeah, have a great week, everybody. It was great seeing you again.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right, take care.
Same
Bye.
here.
Take care. Bye.
Have a great one.